Alright, this video is about how to use GitHub Markdown files. And the most popular one is the README.md. There are several ways to using it. The way an expert will use it is different from the way a beginner will use it. Alright, for someone who's good enough to build a real world project that is useful in the marketplace, the way you write your README, the way you write it is different from the way someone who is still learning to become a developer or an engineer writes his, because your purpose is different. Your viewers are different. For the beginner, you're writing it so that someone, so that employers can go look at it and know you did this yourself, and so that during job interviews they ask you to build something, you can go to your GitHub, to your README, and follow the steps you've outlined, and implement it. And that's something people don't know. In interviews, you don't have to do everything from your head. Programming and cloud engineering has so much codes that you literally have to save them somewhere so you can use them in the future. All right. For example, let me go here. For example, there is this thing I wrote here. It's called virtual env. I use it to create virtual environments for all my projects. If you want to know what a virtual environment is, Google it or use ChatGPT to find it. What it is and why it is important. And these are the two most important code. The two I just highlighted. This will create the virtual environment and give it a name of my env. And this will activate the virtual environment. I've saved it here. I don't know these codes in my head. They are short, but I can't remember them. So anytime I need it, I just come here to pick it. Right? So this is what the GitHub is for beginners. Right? You don't want to go for a job interview and they give you something to do and you're going to ChatGPT. They'll be like, oh, so you don't know how to code. ChatGPT does your coding for you. Do you understand? But you can use ChatGPT to get your codes, right? And put it in your GitHub. So when you're given a project to do in an interview, you can go to your GitHub. Nobody will have a problem with that. It's your GitHub. It's your repository. Oh, the codes I need, I stored them here. There are too many to remember. Every interviewer will understand that. Especially when the GitHub is in your name. Do you understand? So I will go to GitHub now. I want to show you two different examples of README files. Which is why when you're starting programming, the first thing you need to do is learn GitHub. You need to learn GitHub because that's where your employers will check to determine if they want to employ you. So let's start with this last one, building a Flask application from scratch. Now from the title, you know it's a beginner file. This is step 1, there's an image. Step 2, there's an image. Step 3, there's an image. This is not even properly documented because there's supposed to be an image and some explanation. But I know I started explaining, like if you see, there's still some text here, but it's not enough. There's a text here. Let me find another one. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to show you how beginners document on GitHub. So this is the README file, as you can see, readme.md. See, introduction to Linux. You write, what is Linux? It's like a jotter. File manipulation, you explain it, you put an image of where you practice your file manipulation. All right, the sudo command, see, I used it here, sudo, so that's the screenshot. The pwd command, I used it here and that's the screenshot. So you are documenting your learning process. As a beginner, that is what your GitHub is for. It's a jotter. And you're putting screenshots of you doing the things that you're writing about. You're writing about the echo command. All right. Now, and take note, there are different formats. This is big, all right? And it has a link behind it. This has a different form than this. All these different formats, I did it. It's not coincidence. GitHub did not do it for me. So learning how to give text different formats. This one has bullet points. This one doesn't. Is part of what you will be learning. This one is thicker. This one is bold. And if you see the MKDR has a gray background under it, it is not a coincidence. Now these are images, right? These are images that I put myself. So how can you put these things yourself? That's the question. All right? How can you put these things yourself? All right? Let me close that and open another one. Docker Essentials. Okay, Docker Essentials has a list here. It has a link. But the most important thing you should know about when a beginner is writing a README file, as you can see here, it is a set of numbers, increasing step, follow one step to the next step to the next step. And the end, you might even say congratulations to yourself for completing the step, so that anyone who comes here can run this program by following your step one after the other. As a beginner, that is your goal. But when you stop being a beginner, your README becomes different. So, this is a README file. This is now a summary of the project. It has no steps. Although this little one just tells you how to run the application, but it's not giving you steps on how to build the application, because when you're no longer a beginner, the projects you build are so big that you can't give the steps. It will be too much to give. So you just give an overview, which I've done here, and it's not much. I hope you understand. I have another application, a hospital booking application. I even have a table of content. If you click on this, it goes to number 1. If you click on this, it goes to feature number 2. So there's a table of content, and these things I created them. I made sure this was a link and it had number 1. I made sure this was a link, it had bullet point, and it was indented into number 4. There is a language, it's called Markdown language you use in doing all of this. I put this line under here. It didn't happen by mistake. And I didn't want this to have a line as well, right? So all of these things are done using something called a Markdown language, and is what this video is about. Right? So as you can see, this README doesn't have steps. It has features, it has prerequisites to run this application, it has usage, how to use it, but not necessarily how to build it. For the beginners README, the steps there was how to build whatever project was there. So I just need you to understand, because sometimes some people might tell you, oh, this is not how to use a README. It depends on where you are in your journey. If you're a beginner, you want to show the steps of how you built your project, so that if you are called in the future or in an interview to build something similar, all you have to go to is to go to your GitHub and then copy and paste. Oh, why are you copying and pasting? I built this before. It's me, I built it. That's why it's in my GitHub. So what's the point doing everything all over again when I have my tools saved in my GitHub? I have had guys get jobs using that technique, using their GitHub. So it is very important for you to know, right? And now that has been said, let us actually go and build a README file. So let's go to VS Code, right? my dev. And one important thing I want to explain is just have a folder called dev, and in that folder, every topic you want to learn should have its own folder. If you want to learn AWS, create a folder for it. If you want to learn Ansible, create a folder for it. If you want to learn Python, create a folder for it. Like this is my own Python folder. I call it Mastering Programming. If you click into it, you'll see Python inside it. You see JavaScript inside it. Right, I have my React folder. So inside this folder, there are individual projects. Like if I go into my Flask, these are projects. Right? Different projects. You have to be organized. Right? If I go into my Ansible, right now I'm currently working on an Ansible. I just started Ansible. Alright? This is the first project I'm working on. Is using CloudFormation and Ansible to deploy. Now, while I'm going through the course, which is this, where is it? This is it. No, this is not it. This is it. I take screenshots of my steps, because this I'm not taking screenshots of the course, which is here's the course, but they are practical aspects of the course. Like for example, installing Ansible, that's not practical. Ensure end-to-end. This is a practical aspect of the course, where they take you to a virtual machine, tell you the codes to run. As I run these codes, I take screenshots. Right? While studying, like I told you, README file is like a jotter. I take screenshots, so I will show you the screenshots now. Where is it? So if I go to my dev, go to my Ansible, inside this Ansible, I created this img folder. Remember the my-env I told you about, virtual environment? Those two commands, those created this, but let's not go there yet. Every screenshot I take, I put it in an img folder, img for image, inside the project folder. This is the project folder, img folder. So I go into it. These are the screenshot. This is me running my virtual environment command, which created that my env. Good. I called it number 1. Then as I continue my project, I checked if I had Ansible installed, and I can see that I have Ansible installed. Right? And this was where the Ansible was installed. Pip install Ansible, because there are 3 commands here. Anytime you see Kingsley, it's a new line. So this line has a command. This line has a command. This line has a command. So I installed it, and I confirmed that installation worked. And when I confirmed, I took a screenshot as well. And then the next thing I did was I went to create a key pair in AWS, and I took a screenshot. The name of the key pair is DevOps. As you can see here, DevOps is the name of the key pair. Now, if you don't know what a key pair is, don't worry, you will know that. Now, the key pair I created, you can see is here, DevOps. Now, what I'm trying to tell you that every step I take a screenshot, so that when I create my README file, all I have to do is to drag these images into the README file. Now, this is the part 1 of creating a README.md as a beginner. Right, I will stop here since I've showed you all the basics. The part 2 will contain me actually building the README file using these images and using the Markdown syntax.